I've raced all over the Midwest.
Look at that, she opens the door, Vandenhausen takes the lead.
But now I'm traveling further than I've ever gone. To race in a series I've never experienced.
Really good hook out of those Nexen tires.
On a track that doesn't even exist yet. I'm Chris Vandenhausen, and Nexen Tire is sending me to be the first Pro Spec driver to race on the West Coast.
These Nexen tires, these ATXs were absolutely hooked up that whole track, so an absolute blast of a race.
This is the road to Hammers.
Stuff that I have to get done yet on the race truck before we head out to Hammers in just a couple days, essentially. Swap the rear diff. The reason I'm doing that is at Crandon, the rear diff bolts came out of the ring gear and stripped it out, and we were able to get it back together, but I'm just not 100% confident in it. I have to adjust the seat belts on the race truck because those are brand new seat belts. I have to plan our travel route, and that's going to be an interesting one. Put in the gold lithium batteries, make sure that they are both balanced before I put them in. Put the new Nexen tires on. I'm getting 2 sets of ATXs for racing out at the King of Hammers. Assemble the rest of the truck, so putting all the panels back together. Put new fuel in, some nice VP fuel. We have to run 98L. And then load the trailer up that I just picked up from my buddy Josh, so we don't have to worry about doing anything with the semi.
All right, guys, so it's Wisconsin. It's snowing, but back here, we got fresh new set up. Nexen Rhodian ATX. These things are awesome.
Like I said, these are brand new ATXs that I got. Took them down to Off-Road Fraternity. Nate Dogg helped me out and swapped wheels and tires with me. Major thank you to him. And I'll continue grooving. Here's the race truck. What do you think? Should we start it? I do. I'm gonna do it.
So we got home from Hammers about 2.5 weeks ago, and we took a little bit of time to decompress, but we want to share our story with you. It was one heck of a trip.
Sunday we woke up, it was a nice day.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Dog was outside running around in our little camp area.
Yep. Then it quickly changed. We had to practice late at night.
Yeah, our practice was scheduled between like what thing?
5 to 10, but then I didn't get out on track until
11:30. Qualifying, how did it go? What was it like?
So we could see the full track today because it was not at 11 o'clock at night. It went well. I wish I had a little more time on track, but overall had a blast. The track is super fun, very technical. The corners are tight, but they flow really well. And you have a mix of really sandy. You have like really good hard pack, grippy track. And then you got some loamy stuff, but then like in the far back section, it's very sandy and ruts up, but it's kind of fun. It's trickier. You just got to be smart about driving through it.
a lot of these corners were dug into the ground. You're like riding on top of the surface, and then every corner you're dug in. I mean, some of the ruts at the end of the race were up to my like opening on my door. Right away, I caught up quickly to a couple of the pro lights and just kind of stuck with them for most of the race. That time that we were racing was, I think, 5 o'clock at night there, and the sun was directly in my eyes, and I was going to bring sunglasses and put it under my helmet, but I didn't, thinking I'd be fine. So I'm sitting there driving, trying to shift, trying to do all this stuff, holding a hand in front to try and block the sun. And at one point it was so blinding because of the dust in front that it was just like point and shoot and hope you hit the right corner the right way.
You raced half that race without a spotter.
Oh yeah. During one of the corners, I think is when I actually pulled the tear off, I ripped it off and then I hit my pumper as well as my connection for my earbuds. So I'm sitting there like starting to fog up, so I had to crack my windshield, and I didn't hear anything from Amanda, who was my spotter. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And then finally, after I got done with the race, because there's just too much going on, too quick, I think there was a lap and a half left that I was like that, maybe 2 laps. So I plugged it back in after I got done, and I'm like, oh, I got 4th. And Amanda's like, no, go to podium. You finished 3rd. I'm like, nah, no way.
I had been giving him this huge spiel about how he better be so proud of himself. He just podiumed against pro lights. We're at King of Hammers, and he's going to take his truck up onto the box. And all of a sudden I just hear click, Amanda, do you copy? And I was like, excuse me? And he's like, that was 4th, right? And he's driving away to tech. And I was like, no, that was 3rd. You need to go to podium. Get up here. Turn around.
Going through tech, I was talking with Lee and introduced myself, and he, you know, super nice guy. Lee Perfect, the race director who runs all of gas, and great guy, very accommodating. So we were running through tech, and Lee came over, introduced himself, and I asked him the question. So Lee, what happens if I like pass somebody? Do I have to fall back at the halfway mark, or what do I have to do? It's like, no, just, you know, go ahead, like go forward. Don't worry about it. And then I'm like, all right. So joking around too, I was like, so what if I get on podium? What do I do? He's like, well, I guess go in front. Like they should be faster than you. So I don't think he was actually expecting the Pro Spec to be running up with the Pro lights. I could be wrong, and hopefully, Lee, if you're watching this, you can correct me and I won't be offended. But we went up to podium, or I went up to podium, and he came over and he's like, so here's what's going to happen. We don't actually have a trophy for the Pro Spec, but we're going to give you a trophy, and we'll make you one, but we're going to give you a different trophy, and when you're interviewed, hold on to it, but then you're going to have to give it back because it was, I think I grabbed them for like a 1600 unlimited like desert buggy, I think is what it was. I put it back. I had to put it back. Like it felt weird. Like, oh, I have this trophy in my hand, but then I had to put it back after I drove off the podium. Which, by the way, we should be doing this in the Midwest for every race. Driving your truck onto a podium is way cooler than walking up to a podium and then being interviewed, you know, that way.
Yes.
But being interviewed in front of your vehicle, because that's so much better for representation for the sponsors on your truck. You can talk about it. It's a way cooler experience as a driver too. Tuesday, I brought the truck down to the Nexen booth. It was awesome to have Nexen there and be able to put the truck to see, okay, these are the tires that they're selling. Oh, this guy races on the same tires that I can put on my 4Runner or my Tacoma, whatever truck you have, especially the ATX or the MTX, or just have that like brand recognition. You know, here's a truck, here's the brand. This is what it's all about.
As part of our Nexen, you know, deal being out there, though, we were there with other Nexen drivers, so we were able to watch the other Nexen drivers compete in the Ultra 4 races, and then they pulled us all together so that we could have a photo shoot.
Yeah, that was neat to just see all the different vehicles that Nexen had backed. You're a part of a motorsports team at that point. I thought it was neat to be able to do it.
Which tires did you decide to go with?
We went with the ATXs. The initial thought was maybe because it's so sandy that we'd go with MTX, but after looking at the track, I'm glad we started with the ATXs. There's a couple corners that actually are like hard pack, almost blue groove clay, which is surprising for being out in the middle of a desert.
What was your favorite thing from the trip?
Oh, that's a hard one. Favorite thing from the trip, I would say just being able to race on that track and represent the Midwest in the Pro Spec. That and to represent Nexen, being out there, you know, with Nexen helping us get out there to be able to properly represent them. You know, would it be cool if I got first? Yeah, but I mean, technically I did in the Pro Spec, but I think it was a good representation for Nexen Tire, and it really showed the versatility of the ATXs.